Hi, Kathy Michael from Ithaca College Library, and today I'm going to show you a lesson for the Mass Media Research class. The first thing you want to do is go to library.ithaca.edu and go to the Guides tab. Search Mass Media Research and go to the TBR section. You'll find my information, Kathy Michael, here, and I encourage you to email me with quick questions or send me a message if I'm logged on to chat. And also, consider scheduling an appointment to see me. Just pick a date and a time, hit continue, fill out the information. I'll get a notice and we'll send you a Zoom link so we can go over this one-on-one together. In this lesson, I'm going to go over a few things. We're going to look at literature reviews. We're going to look at the difference between scholarly and trade publications. And then I'm just going to give you one sample search to gather articles for your research topic. The first lesson is a comparison between what is scholarly and not. So if I go to the Journal of Communication, I'm going to open it up in a new tab, and I'm going to do a really quick search in here within the journal. So you can see there's a little feature if you go to a journal page in the library catalog where you can just type in some search terms. I just keep this simple because I'm only searching one journal. And we are going to do television and stereo. Oh, you know what? I have to capitalize A-N-D, stereo. And that's if you're anding two words together, use capital ands and ors with the library search. And you'll look just within that journal. So all of these results are the Journal of Communication for those terms. At that point, if I want to access this first article, first I go down and I read through the description of it. This is the stuff I would need for citation purposes. I look over the subject headings to think of maybe some other keywords and terminology I can use for my searches. And if I go up to the top, there's some tools. I can make a permalink to this. I can email it, print it. Here, there's a little pop-up citation you can use. And I would just copy it and paste it into a Google Doc or somewhere if I needed to. So know that you have those tools handy. But let's go in and take a closer look. So now I'm actually on the Journal of Communication Publications website, and I see again a little abstract, and this gives me a blurb about what this article is about and what it's trying to, what the results are of its research. And you can open up the PDF of this article and download it if you need to. But this shows you a little bit of the aspects of what a research journal looks like. They are often written by experts in the field. So Amy Nathanson is a PhD at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She's an assistant professor of journalism and communications. Again, we have another, starts out with an abstract on top. There are multiple pages, so even just looking at the top, there's 16 pages here. And they're often organized into little sections. They're very lengthy. We don't see advertisements here. We see a lot of in-text citations. We may see some charts and graphs of original research, depending on the article. Here's the results of their research. They talk about how they did it and what their results are. Very lengthy. There's some formula they used for the research methodology. And then one of my favorite parts, if you find an article that's really on target, meaning it's exactly what you're interested in researching, the area of research, you can look at the references of a really good article and then look up the references there. And if you need help with that, that's something I can do. But general gist of it, I can tell that this is a book because there's no volume and issue listed there. And I can just do a book search from the library journal website. If I go down, this one is volume 63, so I can see that this is an article in the journal Child Development. So I would just get the article title, copy it, and throw it into the library search to see if we have it as a first step. But I can help you out with that. But this is an example of a scholarly journal. So let me close that out. And let's go back to my website here. And let's contrast that to an article in Variety. There's a couple top trade publications in the field of entertainment. One's Variety, one's Hollywood Reporter. And here's one in Variety that you might stumble if you're just Googling information about women minorities demand the chance to tell their stories in Hollywood. It is lengthy, but who is the author? Cynthia Littleton is a business editor of Variety, so she is not a PhD or a scholar doing firsthand research. And this might be a very interesting article, and maybe you can use it as a supplement to your research, but it would not qualify as a scholarly article. So it is a little lengthy, it's very interesting, and it might be on topic to what you're doing, but this would not qualify as a scholarly article. And if I go back up to another aspect of trade journals, is you might see advertisements in them and graphs or pictures, unlike scholarly research journals. And sometimes how often they come out, journals often come out quarterly, and they go through a whole peer-reviewed process where other scholars in the field will look it over and vet it for inclusion in the journal. So it goes through a very rigorous process. And if you forget, if you scroll down on this page, and again, I'm on the scholarly trade and popular publications page, here's a little bit of a comparison about appearance and format for scholarly journals, a little bit about the authors and editorship. And here's the difference with trade and professional journals. So you can review that if you need to. Literature reviews, what are they? Literature review provides an overview of the scholarly information published to date on a specific topic, summarizing and synthesizing the ideas presented. So that's a literature review. And then there's something that's used a lot in healthcare, and I've been seeing it some in our social sciences, but a systematic review is a comprehensive type of literature review that synthesizes research on a particular question, often using data. And it's different than an annotated bibliography, which is just listing sources with annotations. I embedded a couple searches, and you can come back to my guide and run them. One's in library search, which I use a lot. I usually start out searching using library search, but I might also try EBSCO Research Library. So I put in two searches here. And when you click on one, you'll see what I call my search strategy. And basically, if I'm looking for literature reviews, as an example, sometimes they're called review of the literature, and sometimes they're called literature reviews. So I order those together on the first line. And then I'm looking for something about that mentions online social, online dating, or mobile apps. So it has to have one of these phrases on the first line with one of these phrases on the second line. So let's take a look at the results. Now here I can be sure a lot of these are peer-reviewed, and you can see it says peer-reviewed, 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 but if you want to be sure I have over 1,000 results, you can go over to the source and apply your filter. Another thing you might want to do for this class, and I'll show you again in a minute, is limit the dates. I won't do it on this article for the sake of time, but let me just click on this one first. And notice there's no online access to this one, but there is online access to this one. So this one would, it's in a health pediatric nursing article. I would have to use an interlibrary loan for. So why don't I click on this one to show you. Again, if you're not sure what the article is about, scroll down, read over the description, also known as the abstract, which gives you the overview, and see if this is relevant. And then you just click on the online availability, and if it's not online, you can do an interlibrary loan request. And here's an academic article. You can see that these are professors with PhDs. And this one has a little highlight. It's a review of the literature pertaining to adolescent mothers' use of social networking sites. A little bit of an abstract describing the aims and objectives to critically appraise the available literature and summarize the evidence relating to adolescent mothers' use of social networking sites in terms of any social support and social capital they may provide. So it tells you what that is, some background. And this is a review of original research articles. So they actually went through a variety of databases. These are all database names. Some of them we subscribe to, some of them we don't. And they mined it for literature in the field and then just kind of wrote up everything they found and have their conclusions. And if you scroll down, you'll see these in-text citations. Very lengthy, and it's a summarization of the literature. So that's a little bit about what a literature review is. Hopefully that helps ground you, and there's a little bit more about writing a literature review on this page that you can review. Now, what if you need to just research for articles at this point? Let me go down and think, what do I want to research? Maybe I'm going to do portrayal of women lawyers on television. So I'm going to start out, there's multiple databases you can use, but I'm going to start out going to the library search, this first one. Before I go there though, I'm just going to mention on my articles page, I list the general broad indexes. Again, it's always good to start with library search and EBSCO Research Library. They're just broad, so you're going to gather a lot more information, and using Google Scholar is fine. That can be very useful. I'll just mention that communication source is included in that EBSCO Research Library. You can search it by itself if you just wanted to search journals that are indexed in the field of communication. We also have communication studies, which is just journals that are full text, but from one publisher named Sage. I don't always do that, but it could be useful. I don't always do that because those journals should be caught if I do a search in these databases up above. It's just a little bit more focused if you go in there. And finally, some of you are in emerging media, so you may get into the computer science field. The ACM Digital Library indexes things, so it's good for researching apps and human-computer interactions. And as you saw earlier, Science Direct, it's just articles from one publisher named Elsevier. Again, I don't tend to search that directly, but you can if you want to. I usually link into it from the broader search engines up above. So there should be things that would link me into Science Direct or Sage journals from Library Search or EBSCO Research Library. So I usually just start here and then try and create a focus search by thinking about my terms. So I might do women or females. And in sociology, sometimes they do something with the term sex roles or gender roles. So think about whether you wanted to expand it that way if you're doing a gender issue. And then you have to think of, I'm going to do portrayal of women lawyers on television. So portrayal, but the word depiction could also be used. And sometimes we hear the word stereotype. And then you can add a new line. I just want television. You could do television or TV, but television should be mentioned somewhere in the article. So I'm going to keep that at television. And then you can add a new line and put in law or legal. And after doing a sample search before I did this video, I found out, crime drama would also work. So I should include the word crime. So sometimes you forget a keyword on the first go and then you revise it. That's a natural part of the search process. If you do want to limit by material type, you can do it in advance or afterwards. If I just want to find articles, I'll just go to articles. Language, if you're pulling up a lot of foreign language that you don't want, you can filter it that way. And you can limit by date before or after you search. Maybe I'll do that afterwards. So at this point, I'm just going to search and see what I come up with. And I have a huge search result here, over 77,000. So I definitely need to narrow that down. So the first thing I do in the right-hand side is I'll limit to peer-reviewed literature. And then I can actually put in that date limiter here. I can't believe there's anything from 1500, but let's do 2011 to 2021. So we'll put a 10-year window on that. And then way down in the bottom right, you can apply filters. So I also like to click this thing that says remember all filters. So if I do change my search terms, that these limiters will stay in place. Otherwise, if I change my search terms or modify the search above here and rerun it, I will lose the peer reviewed and the date limiter. So I like to lock those in place. I'm getting a little warmer. I'm down to 23,000 now. That's still too big. So another trick is you can either limit by title or the subject field. And I sometimes try it both ways. And this is one of the ways I play around with my search results. A title search is really restrictive. It's commanding the search to find these terms in the title field. So I'll do that for the first 3 lines. And since law, legal, or crime are very specific in a niche area, I might leave that as any field. So I'm rerunning it with, now I'm saying one of these words has to appear in the title. So 23,194, if I make it more restrictive, I'm all the way down to 6. So quite a difference. At this point, you can just start reading through, or I can change those from title to subject field if I want to broaden it out a bit and change my search. But if you find something and it's of interest, go down, read over the abstract, take a look at some of the subject headings because you can add to your keyword searches using these or formulate a subject search based on it. I can help you with that. I won't get into too much detail. I showed you some of your action tools earlier, but basically this article appears in all of these databases. I usually just start at the top and pick the first one. So this is in SocIndex. It's a subject-specific database that focuses on sociology, and it's trying to pull it up. It's a little slow. And here it is. Again, we have the subject terms, we have the abstract. EBSCO has pop-up tools and tools on the side as well. So make sure you grab a permalink to this record, you download the PDF, you can add these to a folder and then email the folder to yourself. Make sure you keep track of your research. They even have a little Google Drive tool, although you have to give them permission to get into your Google Drive. So if you're comfortable with that. The citation pop-ups in EBSCO, I find them a little so-so. There tends to be mistakes, so be careful. But you can grab, cut, and paste a citation if you needed to. At this point, you can open it up, and you have your first article. And if you wanted to download it, you can download it. Let's go back. I'm going to close out a few screens. Go back to my guide, and I won't do a search in EBSCO. It's much of the same, similar to what I just did. If you need help, we can make an appointment. I'll go over with that with you. And again, I mentioned, don't forget that you can run ACM Digital Library. I can do a quick search just to show you what the interface looks like. But if I did something like dating apps, and by the way, I'm putting it in quotations because I want those 2 words searched next to each other, and you find an article, what I would do at this point, you can see if you can find this full text in the library search by opening up the Ithaca College Library and plopping it into the search, or go to Google Scholar and see if it's in there. And if we don't have it full text, then we can try getting it through interlibrary loan. But there's a lot in here that might be unique. This is from a conference on social media and society, so it might be a little trickier to get than a journal article, but we can try and get that for you. That's about all I want to show you today. Again, here's my guide. I collect everything together here. If you wanted to go directly to the databases, let's say you wanted to just go directly to communication source, you can go to the database tab, the letter C, and then go down to communication source and search that directly. And amongst our most popular databases, we have the EBSCO Research Library, which includes communication source, SocIndex, academic research articles there too. So you can just click on that and go into that directly if you want to. I hope this helps give you an overview. The main thing is your professor wants you to look for recent articles that are scholarly in nature, and I can help you do that. So don't hesitate to contact me with questions. Thank you.